This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Hey everyone, I'm Simone, and here are some of today's headlines, briefly. So tomorrow we're supposed to hear from Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh and his accuser Christine Blasey Ford. Now we're getting specifics about another alleged incident. Now we want to let you know NBC News hasn't verified any of these claims, but here we go. Attorney Michael Avenatti, that's Stormy Daniels' lawyer, well, he's been saying for days that he's got some dirt on Kavanaugh. Well, today his client went public. Avenatti tweeted a sworn affidavit from Julie Swetnick. Swetnick says she saw Kavanaugh drinking and engaging in, quote, physically aggressive behavior toward girls. She said, quote, in approximately 1982, I became the victim of one of these gang or train rapes where Mark Judge and Brett Kavanaugh were present, end quote. Then she went on to say, quote, I was incapacitated without my consent and unable to fight off the boys raping me. I believe I was drugged, using Quaaludes or something similar placed in what I was drinking, end quote. Now, as a reminder, Avenatti is also going up against the president in that Stormy Daniels case. So even his involvement in all this just makes it all that much more political. Now, Kavanaugh denies it all. He said, quote, this is ridiculous and from the Twilight Zone. I don't know who this is and this never happened, end quote. Now, his lawyer is making his case even before tomorrow.
He doesn't believe anyone is lying or not lying. All he can say is what he knows. He did not do this.
The senators on the Judiciary Committee say they're looking into all the allegations. The 10 Democrats in that group, however, want Kavanaugh's nomination withdrawn, and truthfully, they always have. So what does this mean for the hearing tomorrow? Will there even be a hearing tomorrow, actually? Well, some Republicans are still vocally standing up for Kavanaugh. Senator Jeff Flake, a key vote in this process, is disgusted with how we got here.
Tomorrow we will have a hearing. Many members of this body from both parties have already made up their minds on the record in advance of the hearing. They will presumably hear what they want to hear and disregard the rest. One is tempted to ask, why even bother having a hearing?
And I'm sure a lot of people might be wondering the same thing. Now, as of right now, it's still on, and heading into tomorrow, he's still got the president's support. This morning, before the third accuser came forward, Trump gave a vote of confidence from the UN.
I know this particular man, Judge Kavanaugh. He's outstanding. You don't find people like this. He's outstanding. He's a gem. He's an absolute gem.
Now, President Trump has been very busy at the UN today. This morning, he chaired a Security Council meeting, and in his opening remarks, he accused China of meddling in the midterms.
Regrettably, we found that China has been attempting to interfere in our upcoming 2018 election, coming up in November, against my administration. They do not want me or us to win because I am the first president ever to challenge China on trade. And we are winning on trade. We are winning at every level. We don't want them to meddle or interfere in our upcoming election.
Mr. President, are you going to abide by the two-state solution? Will your plan include a two-state solution?
I like two-state solution.
Palestinians, will they come back to the table?
Absolutely. 100%. As you know, we were paying them $550 million a year. Now we're paying them nothing a year. The Prime Minister was just thanking me again for what we did in Jerusalem with respect to the embassy. That's been something that I guess was controversial, but it's turned out to be very positive in many ways.
What does North Korea need to do before you meet Chairman Kim again?
We are denuclearizing North Korea. We have a wonderful relationship going between our country and them.
Where will you meet with Chairman?
I'll be meeting with Chairman Kim in the very near future. It'll be announced.
Trump also met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and before that meeting, he took a round of questions with reporters and talked Palestine, North Korea, as you just saw, and teased that meeting with Kim Jong-un. All right, now on to some other news that we really haven't talked about in the last couple of days. The fact that the government will likely avoid a shutdown. Congress is about to accomplish something that hasn't happened in a decade, guys, voting on a budget without much drama. Believe it or not, those two things can happen at the same time. Now, both chambers of Congress are expected to have cleared 87% of federal funding for 2019 by the end of today, even with time to spare before the September 30th deadline. Good job, guys. Well, those are your headlines, briefly. Now, we've been talking about this a lot. There is a deepening divide on the Hill after Kavanaugh's third accuser came forward today. And as we told you, Kavanaugh adamantly denies the accusations. Republicans are still pushing for Thursday's hearing to go on as planned. And Democrats, again, they want Friday's vote to be called off. So Garrett Haake has been hanging on the Hill all day. Garrett, where are you right now? Can you just kind of show us what things look like right where you are and what you've been hearing from people? This is such a huge week.
Yeah, Simone, I'll just give you a quick tour here. It's not a lot to see right now, but don't be confused. This will be the center of the political universe tomorrow. This is the Judiciary Committee's normal hearing room. It is locked up tight right now while they're making the final preparations to have this hearing here tomorrow. This is not the room that is so famous. This is not where we saw James Comey. This is not where we saw Brett Kavanaugh when he was here for the first round of his confirmation hearings a couple weeks ago. This is one of the smaller rooms. It's actually where they normally meet. This is my photographer and our team here putting us on TV. This is actually one of the smaller rooms. That's at Dr. Ford's request. One of the pieces of this that she wanted was to try to tamp down the media circus, in part by doing this in a smaller space, maybe just one TV camera in there, not the usual hoopla that we see for these hearings. But make no mistake, it's going to be a spectacle. Everyone in the Senate, everyone around the country watching this hearing tomorrow morning to try to decide who is more credible, Dr. Ford or Judge Kavanaugh. There's a lot of senators who still have to make up their mind, and how they're going to do it is going to happen right in there.
And that's credibility of these accusers. That's what Lisa Murkowski has been talking about. We've been talking about her and Susan Collins quite a bit. But what we've heard from Jeff Flake today, I thought was really interesting and quite profound. Him saying that people on both sides have already made up their minds, and tomorrow they're just going to hear what they want to hear. How are people responding to Flake's comments?
Well, look, he's not wrong. I mean, there were Democrats who said they would oppose whoever President Trump nominated for this Supreme Court seat before he even named Brett Kavanaugh as the nominee. And likewise, there were Republicans who said as soon as they heard Brett Kavanaugh's name that he was going to be their guy. We've had some senators coming out over the last couple days calling all of these accusations a smear campaign, saying they don't hold any water, and they're definitely going to support Kavanaugh no matter what. The interesting thing is there are maybe 15 or so senators, I would say, some Democrats, mostly Republicans, who have not said anything at all about this, or they have said what Murkowski and Susan Collins have said, which is they're waiting to watch on Thursday. A lot of folks are just trying to keep their head down until they can get through this hearing and make a more concerted judgment about what they're seeing and hearing. I think there is still enough undecided votes out here that this thing could go either way. There's just so many questions about what's going to happen in that room tomorrow morning.
And obviously, the revelations from Michael Avenatti's client were explosive today. But how polarizing is Avenatti's involvement in all this now?
Yeah, you have to wonder if these accusations had come forth some other way, if they'd been brought up by a senator, if they'd been brought up by some other attorney, if maybe they would have a different effect. Avenatti is polarizing, but he also gets attention, right? There are Republicans. Here's life in the U.S. Senate here. We got cleaning crews. You know, it's any other office building a lot of the day. Look, Avenatti's a polarizing guy. There are Democrats and liberals who love him because he's not afraid to fight with the president, and there are Republicans who hate him because they think he's just out there looking for fame and fortune for himself. But make no mistake, he has gotten everyone's attention here in very short order with what his client has said, and he's been out there aggressively fighting for it. I think it probably causes most people to dig a little bit further into their corners, but who knows? We could have another accuser by this time tomorrow. It's just been that kind of story. And when Avenatti gets out there and draws a lot of attention to this, he might draw more people out. So he's a total X factor in this whole thing.
Garrett, thank you so much for your analysis. this from the Hill. And look, only on Signal are you going to see cleaning crews in the back of Garrett's shot. I mean, that's just how we do things here. I love it. All right, now moving on to another big story this week in Washington. Rod Rosenstein, is he in or is he out? We should find out tomorrow after his very important meeting with Donald Trump over at the White House. Does it feel like, I mean, is this just me? Does it feel like we're asking that question about a new Trump official every other week? Well, if Rosenstein loses his job, he will be joining a record-breaking number of officials who have left under this administration. But to help refresh your memory of the more notable exits, I think I'm going to head down to my colleague Steve Kornacki's office.
Oh, come on in. Oh, hey there. Yes, thanks for stopping by. So, yeah, I mean, look, you're talking about Rosenstein. Is he there? Is he going to stay there? Is he gone? And we've had these conversations. It feels like a lot during the Trump administration. So much. Look at this. Keep this on my desk at all times. I don't really, but I happen to have it here right now. Got a handy little photographic guide to some of the departures we've seen in the Trump administration, the high-profile ones, really over the last year and a half. Remember Sally Yates, basically first week of the Trump presidency. She was a holdover from the Obama administration. She was fired, but she would have gone anyway. It didn't have to be this high profile. But I don't know if you count that one or not, but that was high profile. Michael Flynn, this was Donald Trump's original pick to be the national security advisor. He was forced to resign very early. You remember James Comey, Trump firing the FBI director. That led to the special counsel being appointed. Reince Priebus, the White House press. That wasn't Reince Priebus. That was Sean Spicer. This is Reince Priebus. He was the White House chief of staff, of course. Anthony Scaramucci. You remember a lot of these names. Steve Bannon, official title there, was the chief strategist for the White House. Here's a cabinet secretary, Tom Price. He was with HHS till he resigned under pressure. Omarosa, official title, director of comms for the White House Office of Public Liaison. A position I only knew about because of Omarosa. Could not tell you who in the Carter administration had that job. Rob Porter, of course, White House staff secretary, became well known because I think the allegations against him. Gary Cohen. Here's another cabinet secretary, Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State. Not after March 2018. Andrew McCabe. A lot of folks say he deserved to be fired, but fired he was. H.R. McMaster, Hope Hicks, certainly a prominent name there. The White House Communications Director, that was March this year. How about Scott Pruitt, another, cabinet secretary here. This was the summer EPA administrator. A lot of pressure for him to go, a lot of ethical questions around him there. But basically, that is they want me to wrap it up. Good place to leave it. I hope you got all that.
I think I got all that. Thanks, Kornacki. Well, the midterm elections are just 6 weeks away, and candidates are going all out with the campaign ads. And frankly, some of them are getting a little weird, like this one against Indiana Congressman Joe Donnelly.
Sleepin' Joe Donnelly is at work, snoozing through nearly 1 in 5 committee hearings and snuggling up to the radical left. His votes making it easier for dangerous illegal immigrants to enter our country and give them taxpayer-funded benefits. For his efforts, Sleepin' Joe was even named the least effective Democrat in the Senate because Sleepin' Joe Donnelly just isn't working for Indiana. The NRSC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Yeah, that was creepy. And that Donnelly impersonator was just cuddling with a stuffed Nancy Pelosi doll. Totally normal. All right, moving on to another one. This next one isn't so much strange as it is strategic. So the super PAC that created this ad is attacking Democrat Gina Ortiz Jones, who's running for Congress in Texas.
How much would Gina Jones cost you? Liberal Jones opposes middle-class tax cuts that are saving Texas families $2,000 a year and supports a $32 trillion government takeover of health care that would nearly double the national debt and lead to massive middle-class tax hikes, tax rates nearly 20% higher. Liberal Gina Jones, too expensive and extreme for Texas.
Okay, so on the surface, nothing too strange here, right? No creepy Nancy Pelosi dolls. Well, except for this part where they omit part of the candidate's last name, Ortiz. Now, this is key. She's Filipina and running in a Texas district that's largely Hispanic, so that was very intentional. Now, we obviously don't know for sure why she chose to do that, but it seems a little unusual to us. And then one more. Republican incumbent Congressman Dave Bratt is seeking to reclaim his seat in Virginia's 7th Congressional District, and let's just say he's looking to make Washington a bit fluffier.
Virginia families want results, and Dave Bratt delivers in ways that make a difference for our kids and grandkids, and once in a while for other members of the family. Dave Bratt wrote bipartisan legislation to stop a federal agency from conducting cruel medical research on dogs, because our tax dollars should never go to pay for something that's cruel.
Some ideas are just common sense. And hey, it looks like some folks are pretty happy about it. I'm Dave Bratt, and I approve this message.
You know what, Dave Bratt? I don't appreciate that. That was very manipulative. You know, we the people love puppies, okay? Everyone loves puppies. All right. Well done, Congressman Bratt. All jokes aside, though, guys, what do voters really want from their candidates this election season? Well, NBC News' Jacob Soboroff continues his What Matters series in Texas's 23rd Congressional District. Their biggest concerns are not Kavanaugh, the Russia investigation, or even the border. We'll let Soboroff tell you the rest.
You know, I visited a lot of places along the border, but I have never been to a place like this. Look at these houses that are actually so close. In fact, they live on the border wall. This is the border wall with Mexico right here.
Texas's 23rd Congressional District has a third of the entire U.S.-Mexico border. But in the town of Eagle Pass, I met some locals who said living right on top of it isn't their top concern.
So when you vote, it's not about the border, it's about
jobs.
Jobs.
Jobs. There's a whole lot of people that come out of school, can't get a job here. They gotta move out.
Are your kids still in Eagle Pass?
No.
So we went half a mile to downtown Eagle Pass to try to find out what younger people thought. And as we walked by a local beauty college, the students made my job easy.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Jacob.
Nadia.
Can I come in?
Sure.
Really? With these guys?
Of course.
No way. Come in. Well, what do you care about when you wake up in the morning? What matters to you?
To me, it's like my dogs.
Your dogs. What else?
Secure jobs. People leave from town to go work.
So people that are from here leave Eagle Pass?
Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How come?
Better jobs.
Better pay?
Yeah.
If you work here, it's like maybe, you know, you get a job at H-E-B, Walmart, or whatever. But you go out and there's the oil fields, the oil rigs, and all that stuff.
Oil fields and oil rigs.
Yeah.
We headed east from Eagle Pass, and we didn't even have to find a rig to meet people who rely on the oil business. In the small town of Dilley, we just had to stop for gas.
What's on people's minds?
Eagle Ford Shale.
When you say Eagle Ford Shale, you're talking about one of the most productive oil regions in the whole world.
Right, what we're standing on, basically.
Right now, on top of this gas station.
Right. Yes, sir.
Tell me about what it's like to work in this business.
No, as of right now, it's booming, so might as well take advantage of it, save as much as possible.
But it was pretty slow here a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, about 2-3 years ago, it was pretty slow.
Did you ever have to leave to go find work?
Yeah, I went to work for IBC Bank.
IBC Bank?
Yeah, I was a marketing director.
So you were working in marketing, and now you're working in oil field production. That's crazy. So what job paid better?
Oil field, of course.
Better than working in marketing at a big global bank?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would think that's nuts.
Yeah.
Do you think most people that are your age care about politics?
Not really. The millennial generation, no.
And you vote?
Yeah, I do it, you know, here and there, but...
Not every time?
Yeah.
We drove up to San Antonio to catch a plane to the far western edge of this massive district, just outside of El Paso. The next morning, we headed to see what might be the most infamous part of the district.
Out this way is the Tornillo tent camp. It's the facility for the separated kids that the Trump administration set up, and it's almost as many people as the population of the nearby town of Tornillo.
It was pretty quiet in Tornillo. We waited around on this street corner to meet someone until this guy came out to put up a sign.
What does it say? It says,
Pomegranate.
Pomegranates?
Yeah, my orchard is right there.
Can we go see it?
Yes, sir.
When you go and vote, what do you care about?
The main thing is about the production of food for us. Don't forget one thing. I'm a farmer.
So what you're saying is when you go to vote, the first thing you're thinking about is all this?
Yes, sir.
I thought you were going to say the tents over there with all the kids in them. You know, that's number one because it's in your face.
Well, we need to feed in that kids too. We need to produce food.
Basically, the most important thing you want to hear from your politicians in Washington is about this. Right?
That's right. Help the farmers.
That looks pretty good. All right, let's get real for a second here, guys. Who's the better investor, men or women? Well, before you get mad at me for even posing that question, Fidelity's new study says women. Ladies are apparently earning higher returns on their investments by 40%. But when it comes to money and relationships, people would rather talk about death. Now, our friend Deborah over at NBC's Left Field explains why it's so hard to talk about money with the ones that we love.
Partner, are you in love? And do you know how much your partner earns? Well, that was awkward. 1 in 5 people in the US don't know what their partner earns, and everyone hates talking about money.
Health, taxes, religion, politics, and even death. They're all easier for people to talk about than money, but it kills relationships and is the source of most of our anxiety.
10 years after the recession, the way we do or don't talk about money with each other says a lot about the way we think about worth, relationships, and ourselves. Here's some context. In the 10 years since the recession, the US economy has grown. The Dow Jones has reached new heights. The US consumer public is much more confident since the trough in 2008. And when it comes to employment, more people are employed, although wages aren't so high.
And inequality has hit a peak. Fewer people now own more of the wealth.
Okay, so I bet you want to know where you're at when it comes to what other people are doing with money in relationships.
32% of women and 15% of men say they'd choose to split the tab when early dating. If you do disclose your salary, this is when it happens. 45% wait until they're moving in with each other, 15% wait until they're engaged, and 10% wait until marriage. 5% of people have a secret credit card or bank account. As for keeping things separate, 13% of baby boomers have separate bank accounts versus 11% of Gen Xers and 28% of millennials.
So there's clearly a generational difference in the way we think about and handle our money together.
Americans are known for being an individualistic nation, but
what I found was that when the economy was not doing well, Americans tend to become less individualistic. Popular music tends to be more other-focused and less self-focused. Americans are more likely to give their children, their newborns, common names. They focus more on, socializing their children to be more attuned to the needs and concerns of other people. It tends to leave a particularly strong imprint. People who begin their careers during recessions tend to earn less money. They tend to hold less prestigious jobs. But I found that recession graduates are still more satisfied with their jobs.
Okay, so that's growing up during a recession. But now, those people earning less and with more debt are in relationships.
And those have changed too. We're getting married and buying homes later. So before, people in relationships used to grow up together through new jobs and salary increases. But now we're bringing debt and financial baggage to a relationship, so our stuff is just more separate.
But some things haven't changed. We still really hate the money thing for a number of reasons.
Money is still correlated with success. Talking about a lack of it indicates a lack of success. And there's also cultural lag. Women might be gaining a foothold in the workplace,
but that's perceived quite differently. Roughly 7 in 10 people say it's important for a man to financially support a family in order to be a good partner.
But only 32% say the same for women.
In a world after the recession, with cultural lag and rising inequality, we still have a lot to address. So it might still be super awkward, but perhaps chatting to your partner about money is a good place to start.
Texas. It's like a whole other country. That's literally how the state bills itself, and it's true. They have their own toast, their own Pledge of Allegiance, and some people say Texas schools even teach their own version of history. It's a culture war that's been playing out for years.
And the news in Texas today is that 5 million public school students will get new textbooks this fall that carry a pretty slanted view of the Civil War. This is all because the Texas State Board of Education set some new standards.
Well, we're talking about it again because the Texas Board of Education is changing the curriculum for the first time in 8 years. And it looks like teachers won't be required to mention Helen Keller or Hillary Clinton. Now, if this goes through, Clinton and Keller's names won't be scrubbed entirely. It's just that history teachers wouldn't have to discuss Clinton in a section about political and social leaders. But they would have to include Thurgood Marshall and Billy Graham. Now, other historical events that didn't make the cut, the Poteet Strawberry Festival. The Poteet Strawberry Festival? How could you? How is the next generation going to know about strawberry-coated nachos? But here's the thing. The board is going to take a final vote on all these revisions. Clinton, Keller, Poteet Strawberry Festival, they're going to vote on it in November. Now, activists on the left claim this is an example of Texas Republicans teaching revisionist history. But the right claims this isn't a partisan move. Let's be honest, though. They've always had a chip on their shoulder about the education system leaning too far to the left. And I think there's something to that. I mean, I do believe our schools willfully or unknowingly have a way of suppressing conservative thought. There are Republican professors who say they fear being outed on college campuses. I don't like hearing that, but at the same time, I don't think classrooms should swing too far to the right either. Politics just shouldn't be a factor. And it seems like it starts that way. When Texas makes a curriculum change, they bring in independent educators, like garden variety teachers. But ultimately, it's up to the school board to take their recommendations. And that group, 10 Republicans, 5 Democrats, make the decisions for over 5 million students. So who are they? Who are the people that sit on this board and make these decisions? Well, some of them don't have an education background at all. Like this man who used to chair the board, Don McElroy. He's a creationist dentist.
We have taken on the far left on the last several years, and we have won. We are turning education in a vastly different direction. So thank you.
That guy played a major role in reshaping the textbooks kids read today. Now, Donna Bahorich fills that role. She responded to the most recent backlash in the Washington Post, and she said it's not just Hillary they're targeting. They eliminated other major party nominees, too, like Barry Goldwater. Okay, Donna, but Barry Goldwater didn't win the popular vote against Johnson. I mean, not even close. According to the school board, Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State, didn't rank high enough on a scale measuring each person's impact. So on a scale of 1 to 20, Clinton got a 5. A 5. You'll never guess who got more points than her. You'll never guess. Estee Lauder. Yeah, makeup. Yeah, like Macy's counter, Estee Lauder. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, can we all just agree that becoming the first woman to secure a major party nomination is more impactful than amassing a moisturizer empire? Fair? Well, this is not about liking or disliking Hillary Clinton. You can loathe her and still realize she cannot be erased from history. Look, the way things are today with politics right now, it would be easy to think it's just people on the left complaining about education in Texas. But that's just not true, guys. Back in 2011, the Thomas B. Fordham Institute, which is a conservative think tank, described the school board standards as a, quote, politicized distortion of history. Now, educators from both parties should take part in this all-important process. Because allowing a political majority to decide what qualifies as essential knowledge, that ain't righteous. That's just selfish. And that's our show for tonight, guys. We'll see you next week.